What makes you feel alive? Really, truly alive? Is it your accomplishments? How much money you have, or how much you can acquire, or how many friends you can make? If you think about this question for a moment, it may cause you to pause. In such a fast-paced world that we live in, I often find that I'm just going through my days trying to survive more often than not. And when I have a chance to sit still, it's one that fills my mind often, even though I know the answer. It is one that's taken me a few years to answer for myself for sure, but over the last year and a half or so, I think I've been able to truly answer it, at least for now, but it was not an easy task. Many factors in my life over the last year have helped me to answer this question, from dating the woman I love and getting engaged, to being my final year in university and beginning to plan for the future and all that entails. But one seemingly small thing in particular began to help me in answering these questions, and it's something not many people would expect. And that was playing through the 2019 video game Death Stranding earlier this spring. This video game is one of my all-time favorites, with its incredible themes and lessons and cinematography and music. It's all just breathtaking. I want to share what this game is about and why even months after playing it, it still is on my mind and has an effect on me. The story and main point of this video, though, isn't necessarily the story of the game itself. It's important to understand, and we'll get into it, but what this video really is about is what this game taught me about life, and one of the most important things that I think this game can teach anybody. That I've learned to understand and know. Don't be so serious. Don't be so serious. In Death Stranding, you play as a brave yet nihilistic delivery man named Sam Porter Bridges in a world that has been ravaged by an apocalyptic event known as the Death Stranding. This event was inadvertently caused by humanity's experiments within the world of the dead and led to a border world outside of time between the afterlife and ours, known as the Beach, to seep into our own, completely altering the landscape of America in the form of creatures called beached things, or BTs for short, which are kind of hard to explain, not gonna lie. But essentially, they are the souls of the dead trying to grasp back at life, and they're found all across America's landscape. The Stranding also initiated a strange occurrence called timefall, a weather-like phenomenon of falling rain that ages everything it touches, both nature and human alike. The combination of these two effects led to the majority of America staying inside with fear of being caught in the storm or caught by BTs and dying. Sam, the main character, is a porter, whose job it is to deliver packages of all shapes, sizes, and contents across America's transformed landscape to people in need. He is a bit of a loner, and a main reason he does this job is because it allows him to be isolated most of the time. Not only does he prefer this, but he also has a condition called aphantasmophobia, which is the fear of physical touch, where he can actually break into a rash if someone touches him, causing him to lean even more into his isolation. Arguably, the primary theme of Death Stranding is that of connections. And this theme is ingrained into every aspect of the game, from the traversal system, where you can aid others in travel, and even down to the way the world's physics themselves are designed and created. For example, these experiments which caused the Death Stranding were done on a substance created from the beach known as chiral crystals. Because of the beach's border world nature, scientists were able to use these crystals in order to instantly transfer data and connect the cities of America through a series of centers that linked up to form a chiral network. Basically, this is the ultimate form of internet, allowing for instantaneous transfer of communication, data, and even materials for the cities connected to the network. Another important thing to know about this world is that in an attempt to understand the beach more, humanity created bridge babies, or BBs. Yeah, I know, BBs, BTs, it's a lot. But BBs are unborn fetuses taken from what is called in-game a still mother and placed in a womb simulating pod where they're in like a half-existent limbo sort of state. They're fully alive, but they're also not able to be taken out of the pod or else they will die. And this existence gives them the ability to sense BTs, which is extremely helpful to people like Sam, who often have to venture out into BT-infested territory. Sam receives a BB of his own early in the story, named Lou, and each time he goes out on a delivery, he must physically connect his suit up to BB's pod. And throughout the game, this connection Sam forms with Lou is perhaps the most important in his journey. This is a very brief explanation, but it is super important to know all of this in order to fully talk about and understand the way the game functions, and more importantly, its themes. Regarding the chiral network, the Death Stranding broke these bonds the network had created, so it is your job as Sam to venture out and reconnect America's cities and its people. However, Sam does not actually want any part of this. To make a long story short, again, Sam is what is known in this world as a repatriate. This is a unique ability that hardly anyone has, but essentially means that Sam cannot die. His soul is bound to the beach, while his body is bound to the world. So when he does die, he is simply brought back. Sam's identity as a repatriate puts him in an interesting mindset, though, because the rest of humanity knows what lies ahead for them when they die, the beach, but Sam does not know what happened because he doesn't really know if he can die permanently, and if he does, what would happen to him. Because of this, it really feeds into his nihilistic attitude, and he doesn't see the point of reconnecting America, or more importantly, having connections with other people himself. Not only can he not experience physical interaction, but his near eternal state is what really feeds into these views, and the most dangerous thing he can do is deliver packages and take on timefall and BTs along the way, creating a very lonely existence for him. And all he wants is to be left alone and deliver his packages and be on his way. But throughout the opening chapter of this story, he begrudgingly accepts the task before him as he finds out his sister, Amelie, who is also the president of the United Cities of America, needs rescuing all the way on the West Coast, and the only way to save her is to put aside his apprehensions and work together with others to connect up the chiral network once more. So already, you can see how the nature of this world revolves around one key thing: making connections, both internally and physically. As Sam travels across America, he not only begins to reconnect the chiral network, but also begins to connect with this cast of strange, unique characters he meets along the way. Even as he's beginning to build connections with other members of the main cast and members of society as he traverses the world, he still holds himself back in isolation. And this isolation is one that can be felt not only throughout the story, but all the way down to the landscape and gameplay itself, which brings me to one of the main reasons why this game really affected me. What this game does that is so incredible and so impressive is its asynchronous multiplayer aspect. So, as you traverse this dangerous world, going from waypoint to waypoint, you are given tools to help ease your journey, such as ladders, climbing anchors, and like different exoskeletons to allow you to carry more. You can only really carry so much on your back, even with the help of exoskeletons, so you have to often be particular about what you want to bring with you and where you want to place these objects, as you don't want to find yourself at the foot of a mountain without an easier way up. However, this is where the game's asynchronous multiplayer really kicks in. While you'll never see another human player in the world like in most multiplayer games, you can see the effects of these players, hence the asynchronous aspect. You can see the ladders and other structures they've laid out on their own journeys, and other players can see yours as well. Not only can you see and interact with player structures, you can like them, and in doing so, more of that particular player's structures will show up throughout the world. Let me give you an example if this isn't making sense, or if you don't really play video games and kind of don't know what I'm talking about. So let's say I'm on my way to deliver a package to a man who lives at the top of a little hill, like the musician here. He's pretty annoying to get to, especially the first time, and especially when you're hauling large cargo. The first time I went up here, I didn't have a ladder with me, so I had to go around this waterfall area the long way. But after visiting him and connecting him up to the chiral network, another player's ladder showed up in the perfect spot over the water, making my job much easier. And this is just one example of thousands of moments like that I had throughout my playthrough. As I played this game, something strange began to happen. As I made my way from key location to location, I began to not only put objects in places that would help myself, but that could help others too. This is really radically different from the way most games are played, where the goal is to, what can I do to better my character, finish the quest I want to do, etc. Here in Death Stranding though, my mindset began to switch from thinking of myself to thinking of other players. If I had just made it up a large snowy cliff that was really annoying to climb, I would just place a spare climbing anchor at the top and throw it over. Even though this had no immediate value to me, it could hopefully have value to someone else and they wouldn't have to go up the same hard journey that I made. I began to go take just a small moment of time out of a delivery to do something that would possibly help someone else out. As you progress through the game, certain player names would pop up more frequently, and their structures show up in our world more often as we made the same journey together. And it was such a comfort to know that I was making this journey the same as someone else had, and that we could assist each other without ever actually interacting. Because of this system, both you, the player, and Sam are learning the same lesson simultaneously. That connection is not an optional part of this journey. There are many sections and boss encounters that I simply would not have been able to get through without a player's ghost aiding me with extra weapons, and likewise, Sam could not have completed this journey on his own without the other cast of characters around him. He had to rely on them. But most importantly, he has to extremely trust and rely on Lou, his BB unit. I mentioned it before, but each time Sam ventures out into the world, he physically has to connect up to Lou, where he sees memories that connects him to the BB in a surprising way, which I don't want to spoil if you want to play the game. But Sam had to keep choosing to connect up to BB. Choosing to connect up for his own survival, yes, but as the game progresses, he learns to really grow an attachment to this BB unit. He has to actively face his fear of being around others and his fear of connection. And this connection with the BB unit is one of the things that really gets him out of his shell and allows him to see the value in connecting. Throughout this long, hard journey to reconnect America, Sam not only learns how to make connections and relationships for himself, but he learns that these human connections are not optional, but they are in fact what makes life worth living. At the beginning of this video, I asked a question. What makes you come alive? Yet the question that Death Stranding poses is one a little bit deeper, I think. What makes life worth it? For me, this game came at a time where I was struggling a lot internally, with battles of depression raging in my mind and life coming at me so fast, I was quite overwhelmed and I often felt like I couldn't turn to the people closest to me. But when I did, when I would reach out and rely on the connections I formed and the people that have been placed in my life, and for me, the people around me in my church and my church family who point me back to Christ, what I found was refuge. I'm thankful to have people in my life who listen and support me, from my family to my fiance to my friends, but I know not everyone has those connections. I know that some of you may feel as isolated and in a similar place as Sam does at the beginning of this game, and you may have felt like that for a long time. Life is hard. And it is easy to convince ourselves that we are alone in the struggle and hardship we experience as humans. And if we do that, it makes things seem much bleaker than they are. Much like Sam at the start, we can try and go through life alone, thinking no one else faces the snowy mountains like we do. But, much like Sam, we can make connections through friends and the people we meet along the way, whether we wanted it or not. But it is these connections that can make life worth living for those in self-imposed isolation or any hard conditions. It may take time, but if we keep putting ourselves out there, we can come to find that these connections can be as comforting as a perfectly placed climbing anchor or a ladder, and find out that we are not all alone after all. Cool. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. If you made it this far, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, that was a really fun one to write. It was really hard. It was very different than the Stranger Things essay for sure. The next video in this series is going to be regarding something in the medium of animation. So if you like animation, or if you want another video essay from yours truly, come back on November 17th. November 17th is the day the next video essay will go live. The last one for this little mini series, but I'm hoping to do more of these. I've really enjoyed these so far. And if you have any suggestions on movies, shows, or anything you would like me to write about, or video games, obviously, comment down below. Let me know anything you would want to hear a video essay on. Be sure to give a like, just like in Death Stranding, and consider subscribing if you want. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, stick around, and I will see you in the next video essay.